Oh no, we are live. Right, we've gone live. I nearly forgot. This is my first show back after Christmas, and I was saying to Can in the green room, feel like I haven't done a show for ages. Clearly, because I nearly forgot to go live, and then I was waiting for a countdown, and we were already live. So if you've just been watching me sit there, that is why. But yes, welcome back, 2026. Recruitment Uncensored. I'm really excited for this year. I've already got some fantastic guests lined up, one of which is with me today. Can, with your bright orange hoodie.
Yes, always bright orange.
So we bumped into each other. Was it the Birmingham Expo?
We bumped into each other at the Birmingham.
I can't remember.
I was not wearing my little cowboy hat, but I'm happy to put it on if you like.
Yeah. There you go. But that's where it was. Was it Birmingham?
It was Birmingham.
My head around
it. It was Birmingham.
Yeah. So I don't think I have ever had a guest in the 60-odd episodes of Recruitment Uncensored where we've focused on IT, which is very much reflective of things you're going to bring up today, probably, isn't it? It needs to be more of a focus area. So I'm really glad that we've got you on, because we're going to go today through how to build IT that scales your recruitment business, because I think this is what a lot of business owners forget, is that this is part of growing and scaling your business. And I'm guilty as well of forgetting this. So I'm really excited for this chat today. So we will get stuck into the questions. So, oh, by the way, anyone watching, check your comments, check your questions in. Anything you want me, Can, I don't have a clue about this. It's Can who's going to answer the questions. Check it in the comments. I'll bring up as many as possible. But yeah, what are the biggest IT mistakes that you see agency leaders make? And obviously then the cost that has to their business.
So, Kate, you started off by saying you're guilty of one of those biggest mistakes initially, which was kind of leaving things to, their own accord. That's probably the biggest mistake everyone makes when they're growing up, or not growing up, but when they're scaling. So essentially, I find that the biggest mistakes businesses make are around that and the consequences of that. So buying tools on a haphazard basis. So, that's a really nice shiny tool. Let's go get that. Let's see how it's going to work.
See, that happens so many times.
It happens all the time. And when you go to places like the Rec Expo and you can't help yourself, right? It feels like a candy store. The same happens with IT tools as well. So, for example, we just had Black Friday. We had the Boxing Day sales. I've had a few
sales, yeah.
People go and buy tools. They buy laptops, right? They don't think. They say, "Oh, look, it's a nice deal. Let's go get that." What they end up with is a device that's not quite fit for purpose for what they want to do. I mean, it may slow down in the future. Okay, great. It's a great discount, but it's a home device, for example. So you need to have the right foundations. You need to have sort of a plan. Everything has to have a plan. What are you going to achieve with this tool that you want to get? So understanding that plan first before you go and execute on it is very important, and that leads to a lot more mistakes in the future. Another thing I find is with agencies, with small businesses. I've spent 16 years working with SMBs as an internal IT guy, which is where you've got to define, like, this is your responsibility, within the business, go look after it. I now work with 42 plus small businesses, anything from one man up to 100 persons. And what I find with the smaller businesses, when we initially approached them, was that there was no defined role in the business to look after IT. It was an afterthought, So
I don't think I've got any clients at the moment that have got a specific person that just deals with the IT stuff in the business. I've rarely seen that. It's mad, isn't it?
I mean, it's not just about the IT, but it's more like it could be an ops person, right? But it alongside someone else, like an external provider or internal, there is some sort of defined role that says you are responsible for this. Because if you're not, then who is? And then things start to creep, and that's when mistakes happen. That's when people like Dart can make their way into your businesses, right? So unmanaged IT leads to things like unmanaged devices. So people, when they leave the organization, I've seen this so many times, they've still got access to their emails. They've still got access to their CRM systems.
It's dangerous.
And yeah, GDPR is just one of those issues, but you're going to lose your clients because they're going to go take those to the next recruitment agency they go to, if they go to a competitor, obviously. The other thing is obviously DIY support. So you have businesses where, I mean, I recently spoke to a business back in sort of November, where two owners of the business are in charge of the IT. They do the new user setups. They do the settings. Of course, they're not trained in IT. So yes, they can kind of figure out how things work. But is it really a cost-effective time to spend their time as owners of the business setting up a new user, troubleshooting a printer issue, or fixing things? I mean, it's not. So those are the kind of big mistakes, and I don't need to tell you about the cost to the business of you wasting your time fixing IT when someone else could be doing it, and better yet, if those problems didn't happen in the first place. So those are the kind of big issues that I find. Then it comes down to, if you're doing IT yourself and you're not quite clued up on it, you come down to the other section of you've not done something quite right. So a classic example is if you've not set up your emails correctly. I mean, I had a webinar at the beginning of December where we spoke about email deliverability. And one of the key components of that is a proper setup of your email infrastructure. If you haven't done it right, you're probably going to be landing in spam. And then what's the effort? The efforts you put in
all
BD,
that effort wasted, isn't it?
100%. And then the other thing around it is obviously if Dart can find himself into your organization, not saying that I hack people, by the way, but if someone who's probably not going to be wearing a mask and probably not wearing a hoodie gets into your organization because you've left the front door open, then you've screwed yourself up. And I was in an organization at one point where the entire organization was out for 2.5 days. And that's over 100 people.
Yeah, that would be an absolute nightmare.
100%. And so spending a little bit of money or effort or time, whatever it is, to do things properly from the get-go, pays tenfold, if that makes sense, or much more.
Do you know the one you said at the start I see a lot? So, the shiny new tech. There's not a thought put into it. It's like just scattergun buying. I saw it happen a lot last year, particularly anything that they felt was going to help them with business development or do it for them because they don't want to do it or the consultants won't do it. And it was like, this will be the answer to all our problems, but they weren't checking, did it even integrate with stuff they already had? Was it replicating something they already had that they weren't using properly? It was just this scattergun, and it racks up, doesn't it? All this money,
well, 100%.
And is it even working?
Yeah, 100%. So coming back to that point about the scattergun approach, yes, you're going to see new shiny tools and you're going to go buy it, but you haven't invested enough time in finding out what you've already got under your hood. So I find, back in 2022 when I joined my last recruitment agency that I was the head of IT for, they were trying to they were buying into AI tools at the time, or things that were automation classed as AI at the time. And obviously when they say, oh yeah, this can do this, but your CRM can do that. You haven't invested enough time to have a look at your CRM. Have you gone and spoken to your existing supplier to say, hey, I want to be able to do this? Oh no, we haven't. Okay, let's go investigate that. Hey, we've saved a whole bunch of money by not going with a new system because all it was a simple phone call. Another thing is agencies spend money on tools that they've already got in their stack. Microsoft 365, for example. I know you're on Google, Kate, but most people have 365 these days. No offense, but
no judgment. I'm an Android girl. I can't help it. I love Google, Android, anything.
I'm an Android person. I hate Apple. Apple's a bane of my life, honestly. But we do support people with Macs and iOS devices, so I can't diss it too much. But what I'm trying to say is, with Microsoft 365 and even with Google Suite, you have so many different tools in there that can do a lot of things. Like, for example, surveys, things like calendar booking links. All of these things are built into your platform that you're not probably using. You've got project management tools inside, and yet people go and buy things like Monday.com, Asana, things like Slack, etc. on top. They don't use the tools they have or invest time in using tools, or worse yet, they've got a supplier who doesn't actually inform them of these things.
Yeah, No, all of those things I have seen time and time again. You sort of touched on it very lightly, but let's come to the next question where we can go into it in a bit more depth.
Yes.
What does good, because I'm absolutely clueless on this, so I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say on this. What
Okay.
does good cyber hygiene actually look like in an agency, and like what's the risk if it's completely ignored?
Well, we touched on the risk if it's completely ignored. So um, the thing is, right, there is such a thing as a dark web, and we'll start with the dark web. And the dark web's a marketplace where people trade, stolen data. So there's a trade for buying, or there's a big market for buying data. There's a big market
Hmm.
for actually delivering the data. So obviously, because there's buyers and sellers. So people will go try and get information that's out there. Like, for example, maybe your computer had I don't know, you clicked on a link that exposed your passwords on your Chrome browser, for example. That means all of the passwords that you've saved on your Chrome browser are now in the hands of someone who wants to sell it. He then goes and puts it on the dark web, and he sells those passwords to someone else who wants to then try and access your accounts. They will probably put it through a big automation that goes and tries every single one of those things, not just yours, but everyone else's as well. And then what happens is eventually one of those doors are going to be left open, i.e., there's no multi-factor authentication and whatnot. You've used the same password, hello Kate one two
Your whole
three
life.
exclamation mark or whatever it is.
Don't tell everybody.
And yeah, well, I didn't know that was the password. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that then leads them to say, right, so I'll join dots up. Kate works for this company here. Maybe she uses the same password in the company. Right, I'm going to go use that password now on her company accounts. Oh, bingo, she's not even got MFA set up. I'm in. And that's the start. And it ends like what happened to Marks and Spencer's. It ends like what happened to Jaguar Land Rover. I mean, they were big companies. They can absorb those. They can take that whack in the cheek and continue on. But as a small business, like I said earlier, being locked out for 3 days, particularly if you're in temping business or if you're in a high volume sort of business, you're gone. You're dead in the water. So don't leave it to chance. And good hygiene looks like ensuring that you got your if you take the house analogy, making sure you lock your front door, putting your alarms on. So if someone's trying to break in, right, the alarm's going to go off because it's sensed vibrations or whatever, alerts you to the potential danger. So if you take Microsoft 365, for example, if you're on the right package, and the right package for any business, small business up to 300 users, is called Business Premium, because it offers the best amount of security you have as an organization. It gives you the multi-factor authentication. It gives you things like conditional access. And what I mean by conditional access is it checks, are you Kate? Are you logging in from the designated location, i.e., the UK, and not from Nigeria or from Russia or China? And are you logging in from a device that I recognize? So if
Yeah.
you tick those boxes, right, Kate, you have the keys to the kingdom. But Kate, who logs on from Nigeria, gets shut down. So
Mm.
those kind of things need to be put in place. But then that's about prevention, detection and response, I guess. But cybersecurity is a big area, and to summarize it into like a few minutes is going to be difficult. But if you go back to the core question of what does good cybersecurity look like, is having
Mm.
controls and having detection and protection in place at
I
the
was going to
very
say
least.
protection, isn't it?
Well, they're both sort of, they go hand in hand. So for protection is things like ensuring that you're not an admin on your device. That's a top tip. Do not be the admin on your own device, right? You can have a separate account that's your admin account. So even if you do click on a link, the damage done is minimal. Other things are like, for example, solo recruitment owners or even small business owners, right? They may be using their admin account as their email account. So, for example, Kate, if you had 365, Kate O'Neill at blah blah blah.com would be your admin account. So if you get compromised, your entire company gets compromised. So I always advise people keep those separate, right? Do not have an admin account as your day-to-day account. Um, and the other thing is about, kind of ensuring that you know where people are accessing your devices from. Some people are very lapsed or laxed around oh, you can use your own personal device to access company data from, or you can sign on to Chrome browser on your work device. Well, the thing with that is, if you're accessing your work stuff from a personal device that has no means of, I don't know, protection put in place, then you're inviting trouble, because if they have some sort of
Mm,
malware on their own personal device, they're putting in your passwords, they're accessing your screens. These malware could be anything from key logging to screen capture to whatever it is. You're exposed. And
yeah.
the thing with Chrome is, if most people I know will log on to Chrome with their personal Google account, and that Google account syncs everything, the passwords, the apps that they put on. So if they go log on to that same Google account on their home computer, and they go get some dodgy, I don't know, VPN software or something installed onto their Chrome extensions, that same software or application or extension is going to link back onto your work computer.
Mm,
So
risky.
effectively, it is risky, because it's not just GDPR. It's about the whole thing around inviting trouble and not having your door closed with the bolts on.
Yeah. Do you know what someone told me yesterday, actually, which is I don't know, I suppose I should have known this, but ChatGPT, obviously loads of people are using it at the moment. But then you've got an agency with staff, they're all going on their own ChatGPT. Maybe they're using it to put, I don't know, pitches together, or stuff to do with the business, but they're sharing it on their ChatGPT. But that data,
Yeah.
you know, people aren't really keeping an eye on what the consultants or anyone in the business is doing with, the data, the IP within the business, and it's going on ChatGPT. Is that poor cyber hygiene, essentially?
100%. And it links back to the first question, right? Remember when I said there needs to be some ownership or governance in place in an organization? It doesn't need to be like someone who's dedicated to work in IT. It's someone whose
Yeah,
job it is to have governance or oversight on IT. So things like ChatGPT, as you well put it, people put all sorts of shit into there, right? They could be
yeah.
putting contracts into
Personal
there.
stuff.
100%. And they could be walking out that door because, I don't know, they found another job somewhere else. All those contracts that they put through on their personal thing is going to be available to them. Now, it could be that they're using the free edition of ChatGPT, and they could be training the models, and then suddenly you find out that your data is on the web for anyone else to find out. So there are GDPR
So
implications
that
on
doesn't
that.
happen on the paid one, does it? If you've got the paid one, does it
It
work
doesn't
slightly
happen on the
differently?
it doesn't work on the paid one that way, unless of course you share a chat, creating a shared link and stuff. Then those things
Yeah,
do get indexed. Um, but again, with the paid one, it's their paid one, unless you buy the team version and you manage it. Because ideally, like I mentioned earlier, someone leaves the organization, they leave with the data still in. They've got the passwords and everything. They can log in and download everything from home.
mm,
Well, there's
yeah,
nothing stopping you with GPT anyway for them to go home and log in as themselves, unless you do conditional access on there.
yeah. Hmm. A lot of food. I'm going to be sending this show to a fair few people, after, unless they're watching it live, obviously, based on some of the things you said. Because there's a lot of things
Food for
I know
thought.
people are not doing. Yeah, 100%. Right. My last question then, because obviously a lot of 2026 is the start of a new year. Everyone's talking about their plans for 2026, growing, scaling, all of that stuff. So I thought this was a good thing to cover. Like, what is the first decision IT leaders need to get right to scale quickly and safely, in your opinion?
I think we should change that from IT leaders to business leaders,
Yeah,
because one of the things is, what do you call it? You need to kind of think about it in this way, right? So why would you engage an accountant? Why would you engage a lawyer? And why would you engage Kate O'Neill? It's because they are the experts in their fields,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now, as an expert in my field, I feel that it's very difficult to keep up. Okay. So I often describe IT as swimming up a river that's got whitewater rapids on it. Okay. Because what we do today is history tomorrow. And there's something new around the corner always. Now, I did a number of, and I'll get to the point in a minute, but I did a number of webinars in 2025 around Copilot. My first webinar was sort of nearly 12 months ago. What I did 6 months ago was completely different to what I did 12 months ago. And then since then, I just gave up on doing another webinar on Copilot until things sort of settled down. And the
Yeah.
reality of the situation is they won't. They're going to constantly evolve. So what I said 6 months ago is rubbish today. Yes, there's stuff there that you could have used, but a lot of the changes. The landscape is ever evolving, and unless you've got an infinite amount of time as a business owner to spend looking at what's changing, how would that impact my business, then I suggest the best way to go about it is either look at outsourcing it or accept the risks that if you decide to do it on your own and things go wrong, and things, it's not a case of will they go wrong, it's a case of when they'll go wrong.
When, yeah.
And when they do go wrong, how wrong is it going to get, and can you get yourself out of that muddle? Because and I'm not saying that outsourcing is the answer to everyone. I mean, depending on the size of the business, right? So I used to be a head of IT. I used to work in organizations between 50 and 800 in size, depending. In recruitment, I worked mostly in up to 200 user organizations. And they had a dedicated internal IT guy, myself. But
I was going to say that's an option for some, isn't it?
Yes, but then the thing is, you always have someone as a backstop, or not a backstop, but as a backup plan. So usually these organizations will then have an MSP that they work with, or sometimes they have an internal team. But managing internal teams can sometimes be cumbersome, because if you're not an IT person, how can you manage an internal IT guy, right? So it's a combined effort. So what I would like to go back to on that question is, I think, decide who the governance is going to be with. Are you going to govern it? Are you going to give it out to someone else? Are you going to hire someone internally to do it? Is it going to be the ops manager? Is it going to be you? And then decide, is it worth their time doing it themselves, or should we be outsourcing it?
And do they want to do it? Because I think if they don't really want to do it, are they going to be because this isn't something you can cut corners on, is it? And sort of half-heartedly do. If you're not, if they don't want to do it, don't risk it.
and I'm not putting on the cowboy hat to say that the business owners who are doing it are being cowboys. I'm saying there are also MSPs out there who are cowboys. And what I mean by that is, when you do decide to go down that route, and I'm actually doing a series at the moment on LinkedIn about avocados, because sometimes, choosing the right avocado is a challenging thing. I mean, you might find
it actually is.
Yeah, and you cut it open and it's all brown and black inside, and then you're committed at that point, right? So yes, decide your model, how you're going to operate your IT. Don't leave it to chance. Like, I don't forget about it, because that's the worst thing you could do. Decide early on whether you want to tackle it, or whether you want an expert to tackle it. And there's no company too small for it. I mean, I've got plenty of solo recruiters who we work with on a regular basis that we manage all the IT for. It doesn't have to be expensive. IT does not need to be expensive. Cybersecurity doesn't need to be expensive. Sometimes it's about looking at what you already have and how you can use that best to suit your budgets, right? And protect yourself well. Like, for example, you can bolt your door locked. You don't necessarily have to have a security alarm. Well, it adds benefits to it. But like I said, top tip on that again is, last year I had a look at different tools. Again, coming back to the first question about there's so many shiny tools out there. vendors will always be pushing tools. They'll always come to you and say, buy this shiny email protection software because it's the best
Solve
thing
all your
ever since
problems.
Exactly, but it's not going to, because I had a look at the two big email tools out there. Mimecast, people probably know about it. Barracuda, people probably know about it. And Checkpoint. They don't do any better of a job than Microsoft 365 does for you if it's properly configured. So you don't need to waste the money on it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people aren't going to tell you that because they don't make the margin from selling you Microsoft. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of noise. So unless you know what you're doing, you're either going to get, should I say, sold to, or you're not going to get it right. That's the kind of takeaway there. Like, give it some serious thought and not make it an afterthought.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to you for another top tip actually in a second,
Okay.
but I'm just going to give you all the viewers a roundup of the next show, which I've actually been organised for the first show batch for January, and I've got it written down on a piece of paper because normally I forget. I've got Matt Fox joining me on the 21st of January, normal time, 12:30. He is MD, I've got to try and pronounce this all right, of Exitus Advisory and Polaris Growth. So hopefully I've done that justice. I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about because it's another thing we have never, ever, ever, I've never had anyone on to talk about this on the show before. We're going to go into, I haven't got a set title for it yet, but basically, any of you agency owners out there that are looking in the future or relatively soon to sell, your buyer wants a business that isn't going to fall to pieces when you leave and exit. So the second tier management is very, very important. The people you've got there. Otherwise, it can all go wrong. So we're going to be talking about that really interesting specific subject when Matt comes on the 21st. So keep an eye out for the event. It'll go out next week. Yeah, it will be next week, and you'll all be added and you can join it then. But yes, Can, I'm going to come back to you for a top tip, which we've sort of brushed upon, but we talked about this in the green room and you made some really important points. So I'm going to come back to it. Tell me more about this.
I think, again, summarizing what we've just discussed, the top tip is, don't leave IT to chance, because leaving IT to chance just invites the wrong sort of trouble to happen. It leads to more downtime, and downtime can be quantified by the amount of time that your consultants spend not doing what they're supposed to be doing and faffing about with computers, right? Downtime can be, it doesn't necessarily need to be a broken computer. It doesn't necessarily need to be a cyber attack. It can be simple things like they're on a device that's too slow to do their work, so they're actually hampered in their ability to work, for example, or an improperly configured device. Think about things like, you get a new starter, right? We spend a lot of time thinking about how to train them, how to give them the right tool set to go out there and sell. But if you're giving them a laptop that's poorly configured, if you're giving them a computer that's poorly configured, and
which happens quite often,
they're sitting there waiting for their device to be set up on day one. What's the point? You're wasting time. You're making the person who's joining have a bad experience on day one. That's going to leave an impression. And Kate, what's the negative impact of a bad impression on day one?
Well, you could lose them relatively quickly.
Well, that's one thing.
They might not want to stay. Their attitude might change. They might be less productive. But the ultimate, worst end goal would be that they end up leaving. Exactly.
So, I worked with an organization back in 2023. They're still one of our clients. They went from a position of saying, right, we're getting to a stage now where we need to be serious about everything. Great, you come to the right place. And one of the first things was like, we don't want to have new starters come in and faff about with computers, or we want to be able to kind of ensure that if something does break, it's fixed very quickly. Well, by fine-tuning what they've got already, we were able to kind of revolutionize the way that new starter process works and the leaver process works. So, top tip, define your IT strategy, because your IT strategy aligns with your business strategy. don't leave it as a, kind of a sour aftertaste or whatever you call it, or the back burner, because when it does break, it's coming to bite you in the
It's gonna
ass.
bite you in the ass, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a perfect note to end on, actually, isn't it? We're bang on 1 o'clock. Thank you so much, anyone that's watched and joined us for the first show back of the new year. Thank you, Can, so much for coming on, because I have taken a lot away from what you've just said. I know I've got a lot to sort out my end, but I know if anyone else is watching, they'll feel the same. Look, if you've enjoyed today's chat and you know there's some things to sort out in your agency, whether you're a solo or you've got staff, go and speak to Can. LinkedIn is the best place. He's tagged on this event, so if you're not connected to him already, get a connection request out, send him a message, get a chat booked in, because this is, if you want to grow this year and make sure you do it safely and effectively, this is one of the biggest things you need to get sorted. So
100.
yeah, thank you, Can, so much for coming on.
You're welcome, and it was a great pleasure to be on the show, Kate. Privileged.
Well, we'll have to get you back on because there's loads of other things IT wise we need to talk about. But yes, anyone that's watched, definitely book in a chat with Can if you've still got things you need to sort out with your IT. But we're at the end, so hopefully anyone watching, you'll join us again on the 21st. But yeah, we'll see you all soon. And Can, thanks for joining.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. Bye.